Hello, Calhounians. Let's talk about isosceles triangles now. Let's call this 4-8, which is the first thing I'm going to have you write. The first part of this lesson involves a lot of vocabulary. Shipley, how do you feel about vocab?
Why don't you just call him and tell him to know?
Because I'm letting know him unnecessarily.
Calm down. It's okay. Just get the definitions down. We'll draw some pictures in a moment, make it a lot more clear. Take a second, pause the video, get the definitions down. When drawing the legs, the two congruent sides, let's just put one little hash mark on that top picture so you know our legs are the two congruent sides. Most important vocabulary word with isosceles triangles is by far that term vertex. We've got our two congruent sides, and the angle between those two congruent sides is the vertex. Get a picture of that. When we talk about the base of the triangle, we're talking about not the two congruent sides. Base angles, meaning the two angles that are opposite the two congruent sides, the base angles that are touching our base. So, 4 vocab words, all dealing with different parts of the triangle. Get those down. Use those pictures to help you out on the homework. Biggest thing to remember about isosceles triangles, and we're going to draw a picture to be sure, is that if the two sides of a triangle are congruent, the angles opposite the sides are congruent. Draw this on your diagram of triangle ABC. Draw an arrow from the tick mark on one side to its opposite angle and shade that in. By opposite angle, all we're talking about is the angle that is not touching that side. As you can see, we can draw an arrow right across the triangle from one side to its opposite angle. Essentially, if two sides of my triangle are congruent, the angles opposite those sides are also congruent. Opposite sides, opposite angles, congruent sides, congruent angles. To answer example 1, to find the measure of angle C, we first need to understand, as I am writing, that all 3 interior angles of a triangle have to add up to 180 all day. I really hope you said every day at home. That'd be really cool. I'd be very proud. But if we know that one of those angles equals 38, we know those other 2 angles, A, have to be congruent. Get those arc marks on the triangle. And B, allow us to write a very simple equation to get those 2 angle measures. Let's call the 2 angle measures X. And let's go ahead and say that those 2 angles plus our angle on top has to equal 180. Very simple equation to write and solve.
Okay, Calhounians. I'm walking down F Hall right now, F200 actually. I got another question for you. Now, one of my favorite novels in high school was Crime and Punishment. It's really hard to read, but it's a really cool story where a guy commits a murder against his will and spends the whole story thinking about whether or not he's going to turn himself in. Really cool story. My question to you, who was the author? His name is very hard to read, very hard to write, and very hard to say. So make sure you rehearse your answer. Who wrote the classic novel Crime and Punishment? Look it up.
On example 2, we're going to do just a little more complex algebra. Now, the triangle itself is oriented a different way, which can be kind of scary. Right, Shipley?
It's okay, buddy.
Easy, buddy. It's okay. We just got to draw an arrow from the congruent sides to their opposite angles, right across the triangle. And now that I know those two sides have to be congruent, because of the Isosceles Triangle theorem, I can write an equation with variables on both sides to actually get my correct answer.